Hey everyone. Yeah, I've got about a little over, I'd say, I've got a little over about 6 hours and 7 minutes to go before I have to leave for work. Um, but I thought I'd talk about something here for a second. 2K16, we got a more, WWE 2K16, we got a more improved game. Definitely a bigger roster. Got a lot of the stuff back that we wanted, but not everything. See, there are some modes, and what they said at whatculturewrestling.com and on the YouTube page. What they said there is there are certain things that were not there yet. They were not included in the game. And quite frankly, I do understand that there are certain things, certain match types, what have you, that were not included. And that is pretty much true. When you think about it, how many match types did we have when the whole SmackDown versus Raw series and the whole SmackDown series then evolved to SmackDown versus Raw and what have you, and then finally into the 2K into the WWE series under THQ and then the 2K series. How many match types did we have when this whole thing first began? We had small amounts of match types, don't get me wrong, but we also had, as time went on with each volume, we had different match types included. We had the Buried Alives, we had the casket matches, we had Inferno matches, stuff like that. I think we even had it last year with an Inferno match, I'm not really sure. But there is a lot of things that were taken out. I'm not denying that. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about 2K17 and what needs to be put in there. And I know I'm probably I'm about it's about 2 minutes in. There are some things about 2K17 that need to be added in, and some issues that do need to be addressed. There's no doubt about that. First of all, let's take a look at the roster. Now, the roster for 2K16 is very healthy. However, there's been a lot of complaints that certain characters or certain superstars, men or women, were not included. You know what I'm saying? Certain men and women were not included. Mostly, you have the four horsewomen. Not a lot of people were not happy at the fact that Sasha, Charlotte, Becky, and Bayley were not added, but for some odd reason, somebody that came there after them and Samoa Joe was. I could probably argue the fact that Samoa Joe, I hate to say this, was a bigger name draw than they were, which is why he was added. However, I do agree that they should have been added, but they weren't. They weren't. They should have been added, and yet now you have fans through community creations adding them by using a whole facial feature, facial photo capture feature that they have on there. But with that said, here's the thing. I do agree that you have to have an up-to-date roster. Yes, go over the 100 mark, go with the 100 characters again, but maybe. And that was my coffee cup hitting the mic. Yes, go over go with 100 characters, 100 slots. But if you're increasing it, but not increasing, but if you have the technology now to increase the gigabyte space on a Blu-ray disc, especially, let's say if you're, let's say you're Sony and you're either upgrading through a update patch, or you're physically bringing out a 4K version of your PS4, then you have the capabilities to go from 100 roster slot to maybe 125, 150, maybe even 200. So, with that said, you have that capability. You have that technology at your hands, but yet you don't utilize it. You don't utilize it, but you should. So one of the first things I think they should do for 2K17 is increase the creation slot. That's the first thing they should do. They should increase this creation slot to possibly 100 and I would say between 120 to maybe 150 characters, maybe 200 at most. But basically give us an additional 20 to 50 slots. Because there's a lot of us out there. As you know, anybody that's played these games know, there's a lot of us that like to have a massive CAW, Creator Wrestling league and roster on our hands. You know, we like to add different characters, and we don't, but unfortunately what we have to do by adding these characters is we have to delete another. Now, true, we could come up with a stipulation in our CAW promotion as to why one character is not going to be there anymore, but still, it's like, why should we do that when they could easily just add 20, maybe 50 additional slots? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what they need to do. But the only way I think they're going to be able to do that is they have to upgrade their engine. They have to upgrade the engine behind the game. They have to upgrade the game's engine. They have to put in a new engine, a new server, whatever you call it, so you can have that capabilities. And mostly another reason they need to and this being the second thing, the reason they have to do that is so that you don't, it may, okay, this being the second thing, the first one being the addition of 20 or 50 more creation slots for characters. But on top of that, like I said, the second thing is they need to upgrade their engine, their game engine, all that, so that it may, and again, this is a maybe, be able to avoid all these glitches and hacks and just freezes overall. They need to have a better engine. They can't rely on the same engine as the previous years that they used on the previous generations and consoles. They need to upgrade that engine. They need to get upgraded. They need to patch it up, upgrade it, maybe get a new one or something like that, so that they won't have these issues anymore. They won't have the glitching issues. They won't have the freezes. They won't have, in my case, sometimes the game, I'll try to play the Silverback character that I downloaded off Community Creations, and when you use his individual entrance for some reason, it goes and freezes. Basically, the game comes to a stop. It has to basically get restarted. It's like it crashes, and then you have to restart the game. Now, with that said, the point I'm trying to make is this. With an improved engine, patched up, upgraded, or just brand new all the way around, it could really help out to avoid those kind of issues. It could avoid those kind of issues, so that way you don't have to deal with this crap anymore. You don't have to deal with it. So that would be the second thing they need to do, and that is to upgrade their game engine, software, whatever, so that we can avoid these glitches, these freezes, and most importantly, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably noticed this at times, these voiceover miscues. I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. For some of you that probably watched my Thunder broadcast recently, my more recent one, you may have noticed that Lillian Garcia, as she was supposed to be talking about what the next match was going to be, was actually saying, which she had said at the end of the other match, which was, and the winners are, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, really? You're just catching up with yourself again? You're just saying the same thing over again? Things like that, where she actually starts declaring the winner at the beginning of another match she's supposed to be announcing, or doing the announcing for, that's going to mess you up. That's going to confuse you, and that shows you that there are some issues. So to me, that's what a new game engine software, patched up, upgraded, updated, whatever, has to do, or can do, hopefully. Can and hopefully will do. Now, number 3, the voiceover has to really be improved. Because just like in the previous gen console versions, you have the commentating crew basically commenting almost repeatedly. It's like a record skip. They'll say one line and then they'll say it again a few seconds later. This is something that needs to be addressed now. This has to be addressed for 2K17. And what I mean is, if you're going to keep the announce team, fine, keep them, but improve the announcing. Improve the announcing by basically balancing it out. And again, this is where number 2 comes in. The game engine comes in. A new and improved game engine comes in. That would probably allow for the voice, for the commentating to be smoothed out, so you don't constantly have a repeat. There are some games by EA Sports and by 2K that, believe it or not, have decent commentary that flows evenly, flows almost near perfectly for the games. And you don't hear no complaints about it. And that's what needs to be done with 2K17. They need to improve on the commentary. Most of all, too, is they need to let you choose what commentary team you get. I mean, I know this upcoming year, the commentary team is not going to be Jerry Lawler, JBL, and Michael Cole. Instead, it's going to be Michael Cole, Byron Saxton, and JBL. However, they need to give you a variety. And I think what they should give a variety of is, let us choose what announce team we want. So in other words, if we want Mario Ronaldo, I think that's the guy's name, the one that a lot of people feel is probably the best choice to replace Michael Cole as the main play-by-play guy on Raw, let us choose between him and the SmackDown set of Jerry Lawler, him, and Byron Saxton, as well as choose between both commentary teams for the commentary. Give us that option. But again, if you're going to give us that option, give it to us so that it's done in a way that basically the voiceover, the commentary runs smoothly. There's no interruptions or anything like that. There's no skipping. There's no, repeating the same thing twice. What they need to do is work on it being more smoothed out. Another thing too, since it's pretty much knowledgeable to them maybe, that there are gamers, fans if you will, that like to create their own promotions, then what you should do is allow the commentary team to basically, in a sense, and I know sometimes it's hard to do, but they've shown that they could do it in the past, allow them to say the promotion's name. Again, I know it might be a little hard to do, mind you, but I think that would be a great improvement for voice commentary. So that way, with the voice commentary, you don't have, if you want to just rely, because there are CAW promotions, leagues like my own, that with maybe an exception of their CPVs, their pay-per-views or network specials, whatever you want to call them, you can actually rely on that commentary team with, like I say, a better smoothed out commentary voiceover, but do it in a way that it also, like I said, allows them to acknowledge certain things. I mean, when you create a championship, you always have all these variety of names and all that. So if you can use that for created championships and even for your created wrestler, then what you need to do is also use it for maybe. Then what you also need to do, or what they need to do and should do for the next installment, is allow the commentary team and the announcers, whatever, ring announcers, commentary team, backstage interviewers, allow them to acknowledge the CAW League in some way. Like, for example, wouldn't it be great if you heard, if they did a backstage segment, or they allowed you to create a backstage segment interview with you, a backstage interview with Renee Young, and she's talking to, let's say, a character, a created character of, let's say, the CCL League, COD Champions League, and says, I am here with the CCL World Champion. That would be something. That should be something they need to bring into the next game. So that way it's not always, I am here with the worldwide champion, or I'm here with the champion, I'm here with da-da-da. Work it out so that you can work it out to the point that it allows even the in-game commentary team and announce team to acknowledge in some ways the CAW promotion that you've created. That is basically the next thing that needs to be done with the voiceover. Now, speaking of creations, number 4, of course, like I said, improvements have been made on creation, no doubt about it, but there needs to be more improvements, more creation types. Now, I know for certain, maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I know for certain that after this past Monday on Raw, there's probably a good chance that one of the new match types they're going to add in is going to be the Asylum match. That's great. But what they need to do is improve on the creative. But speaking of matches, they should bring that back as well. That is one thing I do agree with WhatCultureWrestling.com. Bring back creative match. This way you can combine, but improve on it, so this way you can combine different match types. Like, for example, you can bring in the Hell in a Cell match, but then say, okay, we're going to do Hell in the Cell, but it's going to be a last man standing Hell in the Cell, which means you can't win by pinfall. You got to win by beating the hell out of your opponent, and I think that would be a good match to bring in here. Put together, or allow the gamer, the player, to create, not just for their own entertainment, but like I said, going back to the whole CAW Creative Wrestling League and promotions deal, it could really help improve. I mean, how many times do we get people on these CAW Facebook pages saying, or even the YouTube pages announcing that this match is going to happen, but yet you see it and you're like, well, it's the Hell in the Cell. How are they going to make that happen? And they have to go back and maybe rely on something from the past. This way, it works out because you're allowing them to add in stipulations, add in different environment, different rules, if you catch my drift. Another thing, too, is you could add in, like I said, with the creative match type, like I said, you could add in things like it's a Hell in the Cell last man standing match. People would get a kick out of that, stuff like that. You could also add in the fact that, okay, take a page out of the Ambrose Asylum match, have weapons, allow you to create things to where you can maybe attach weapons to the side of the Hell in the Cell or a cage, so that way you could use those. And it could be any kind of match. And you can name the match. That should be another option, that when you're done creating it, just like with a created championship, created arena, and a created character, you should be able to create. You should also be able to name the match type. So like I said, with example, the last man standing Hell in the Cell, you could say last man standing Hell in the Cell. Or you can come up with your own unique name for it. Like, yeah, it's a Hell in the Cell. Or you call it, but you can call it something else. Like you could call it the Trip to Hell match, or the Trip to Hell match, or the whatever, the last rights match, your own version of a last rights match or whatever. You can come up with those kind of stipulations, and it would, those kind of aims, and create a match deal, and it would work. So I think part of the creation, so like I said, this next one with the improvement on creation or building more upon creation is bring back the creative match type. That's the next thing here. That's, I think, what is that, 4 now? What is the number 4, I think? I think it's number 4. Yeah. Like I said, the creative mat, or 3. It's let's say about 3. Because I was talking about the voice thing and the game engine. Well, actually it is 4 because you could put the voice commentary announcing as their own. But like I said, create a match type, like I said, allowing us to mix match types all together, also allow us to name the match. And then just like I mentioned previously with, like, say, the announcers to the commentary acknowledging what the promotion is, allow them to acknowledge what kind of match type it is. Like they could say, even if it's not the best kind of pronunciation, which it never is, and games are never like this, you could have them say like, okay, upcoming next. Or you can have whoever the ring announcer is, Lillian Garcia or JoJo, going like, this next match is the last rights match. And that's it. You don't have to tell them what don't have to have them announce what the stipulation is. Just say it's the last rights match. Allow them to do that. Another thing I think they should add to creation mode is create your own commentary. That's right. You know, I talk about how I believe the commentary needs to be improved on. The in-game commentary and announcing needs to be improved on. It needs to be improved at even to the point that it's not repeating. It's moved kind of freely into each other, kind of transitions smoothly into whatever the other announcers or commentators are saying, just like you would probably have with, like I say, the Madden series on EA and some of the sports titles like the NBA titles on 2K and such. I think this could work out very, very well because let's say they don't improve on the commentary. By adding a create your own commentary option in the creation suites, that could really work because that way you could actually commentate during your match if you want to. You can. You can commentate during your match. Now I know you're thinking, well, you already can do that, can't you? Yeah, you can in a sense, but this way, create a commentary, it works almost transitions right in with your commentation. Like let's say you have to pause your game, right? Or you have to somehow pause, right? The commentary can be paused at the same time. It'll be automatically paused. Like let's say you got to go get something to eat, or you got to go get something to drink, or you got to get something to eat, or you have to use the bathroom. You could pause the game and the commentary will automatically pause. Just like, you know, if I was to pause this audio right now, and go do something, and then press and then come back and restart it, it basically continue where I left off. You could do that. Basically it'd be like pause, unpause. So I think a creative commentary would work. So that way it goes into the game automatically. It can actually work, especially with your universe mode. You could do the creative commentary for that. Okay, you could do creative commentary for that because that, to me, would be tremendous. It would be tremendous if you could do the creative commentary, especially for the universe mode. I think it'd be great. And again, I know some people are saying, well, we could do that anyway, or we just do it when we edit stuff together. And that's fine. But I believe that if they add creative commentary to the creation suite and allow us to create our own commentary, like choose create commentary, add that to the creation suite, or add that to the game overall in universe mode and all that. Like, you know, you go to the edit options in universe mode, which are similar, if not a bit different than what it is in the game, in the regular game, in the non-universe portion of the game, which is a majority of the rest of the game. allow us to have the option to, not only, shut down the audio in the universe mode, as well as what we would do in the main game itself and the rest of the game itself, but allow us to also choose create your own commentary, so that maybe in the upper left-hand corner or bottom left-hand corner or bottom right-hand corner, you can have the option of starting up. Like as soon as the game starts, that's when the commentary can begin. And you could start doing things. And I think it could work. I really do. I really think it could work. Now you might say it might be a little distracting. It might be distracting, but then again, another thing they could do with creative commentary is they could create your commentary, but they could create it while you're playing. Okay, the way I think they could do this is you could play the game and you could do the commentary for it, if you will, and it could all be done at once. But another thing they could do is they can allow you later, let's say you're doing universe mode, to record the commentary, watch kind of like a replay of your game, and record the commentary there. It could work. My point is, I believe that a create a commentary option is the best option, is an option that's sorely needed and has been needed for quite some time, so that we can give our own voices to it, even if it's a live broadcast or not. Now, speaking of creations again, another option that we need for creator mode for the creation suite is this. You have your creator championships, is great. Your creator arena, your creator shows, that's great. Your creator wrestlers, that's great. How about create a logo? That's right. That's an option that's been missing for about 2 games now. Bring back create a logo. That's right. Bring it back. Bring back the create a logo deal, so that we can not only have the option of creating, uploading pictures and stuff for the creator logos. Not for the creator logos, but for like the creator championships, the arenas, and our characters, but also for those logos, those fan signs, create a sign. Let's call it that. The creator logo, create a sign deal. So that way, that's what I'm trying to think of, the create a sign. So that way, when you go out and play the match and you're using your created character, that character, you could see maybe several fans holding up the picture or image that you've uploaded through the creation studio. While you're during your match, or while your character's coming down to the ring and such. So I think a creative sign option needs to come back. You can't just have us upload or create a logo and not allow us to let the audience, not acknowledge who we are. You know what I'm saying? So I think the creative sign should be brought back into the game as well. Now, one other thing about Creation Suite. The other thing is, speaking of uploading pictures, uploading logos, I think the next thing they should let us do is they need to, as far as the Creation Suite goes and uploading the logos, how about letting us upload some GIFs, or maybe some small mini videos, if you will. Hear me out. One of the things that they need to work on as far as the creation goes is allowing us to have not just, our logos or stuff, pictures or whatever that we upload so we can have it, so we can use it in the game. But I think another thing is, sorry, I was drinking some coffee. But I think another option that needs to be brought in, and this ties into other things. One of the things I did like about the previous gen consoles, at least about maybe several games earlier, is we were able to create our own Titantrons. They may have not been the best Titantrons. Basically, they were just using like little images of us in a match with just a random created character or established star. doing moves and all that, and that was great. But here, I think they should give us the option to improve on. But here, they should be able to improve on that. And this is what the Creator Studio, not just the app, but the website itself for WWE 2K17 should come into play. The Creator logo, the Creator logo should be improved on to not only allow us to upload pictures, but like I say, allow us to upload some GIFs and maybe some small videos that we can use for Titantrons. Create our own Tron, so that way we could have maybe a mini video of our character, or maybe even ourselves representing that character. And I know you're thinking that's going to deal with a lot of legal issues, right? Let me ask you this. If it dealt with a lot of legal issues, don't you think a lot of the imagery we use for our creator, that we upload for the creation suite right now and previously, don't you think maybe they would have gotten on us or gotten on 2K about that right now, or already had gotten on them about that? So I don't think a small GIF or a small little video, they can even say it's got to be 45 seconds, maybe 20 seconds or whatever, maybe a minute long at most, and it's got to be this size and whatever, and that's fine. But they should allow that to be the next thing that is added to the Creation Suite, as well as the Creative Studio, as far as they're uploading images and stuff to the game. So that way, you could use that as a Titantron and as a Minitron. You could use those both ways. And true, they could put out specifications of what needs to be used for the Minitron and what needs to be used for the Titantron, and that's fine. But I think adding the option of allowing us to upload little GIFs or little small videos, maybe I'd say mostly 25 seconds to a minute long, for our Titantron entrance would be great. I think that'd be a great option to add to the game. I really do. I really do think it would be great. Now, speaking of creations, let's go back to Created Arena, which, the Created Titantron comes into play. The Created Arena is great and everything. It's great to have, but you have a few problems with it right now, and I think 2K16, hope the 2K crew will address this with 2K17, and that is, you give us the option to use the LED apron, if you will, you give us the option to use that instead of a regular apron. You give us that option, as well as you also give us the electric billboard. Here's the problem, though. When we put our logos and stuff on there, nothing moves. Nothing is moving. When we use the patterns, like let's say a lightning pattern or whatever, nothing moves. So in my opinion, I think what needs to be done is they need to work on that. They need to fix that so that when 2K17 comes around, we'll be able to use that option once again, but this time we'll be able to see maybe our creative logos moving kind of like back and forth in a diagonal line. That's all they have to do. Or maybe have a pattern behind the logo moving that acknowledges, that makes it similar to what you see on Raw and SmackDown. So to me, that needs to be worked on. They need to improve. They need to work on making the electric billboard and the electric LED display apron, or on the ring apron. They need to work in allowing us to make that movable, just like if we were using just like it is when we use the SmackDown or main event or Raw arenas instead of our own creation arenas. They should allow us to have that option there for our created arenas. Now, speaking of which, I do realize that one of the things they do now sometimes is they have fans primarily focus on what's going on in the ring. They don't show anything up on the Titantron unless they have to. So to me, I think one of the things they need to do on this is give us that option to where they need to give us that created option to where you either show the match on the screen like they're doing right now, or what they do is allow us to have that option to where you just see the logo and the logo kind of moves a little bit. Maybe like like for example, if I'm the people at CCL doing the CCL promotion, and I want to have for 2K17, I want to create my CCL Pulse arena, but I want to create it to a point that it gives me the option of maybe just the logo kind of moving a little bit, just like I said with the billboard. Give us that option. And I think that's what they should do. Give us the option of either showing the match on the screen or just having the logo and the title of the show kind of moving a little bit, or at least the background, the pattern background moving in its place, so that it feels more authentic. It feels more, lifelike than what we have right now. And lastly, but not least, and I know I've been rambling on with the Creation Suite longer than anything else that I've talked about so far. Last but not least, as far as creation goes, bring back Create a Story. I mean, I have nothing against universe mode or anything. I have no problem with us being allowed in universe mode to create a rivalry and all that, but bring back Create a Story. Create a Story was a great thing because whether you had the patience to type up what you were going to say with your keyboard, with your controller or the keyboard you had connected or whatever, Create a Story was worth it because at least it made it feel more authentic. It made it feel like you were actually watching a wrestling program. So I think Create a Story needs to be brought back, and bring it back in a way that makes it better than it was when the last time we had it. Make it to where things just feel so authentic, so lifelike, if you will. So basically so in real time like. So to me, that needs to happen. That needs to happen. So Create a Story needs to be brought back. Now, finally getting on to the match types. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we know, like I said, Buried Alive and all, WhatCultureWrestling.com talked about the Buried Alive and all that. Those kind of match types. Well, yeah, I do agree. The match types that we have now are great, but you need to give us more option. You need to give us more option than what you're giving us right now. First of all, let's talk about the Iron Man match or the Iron Woman's match. Depending on if you're using women or not, the Iron Woman match, of course, come in courtesy of Bayley and Sasha Banks. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I know the reason why 2K kind of reduced the Iron Man time limit to 30 minutes. But one of the things I've noticed when I tried to use the Iron Man deal recently, is it ended after two falls. It's like, okay, what happened? An Iron Man match isn't supposed to end until the time limit's up. What happened? Well, apparently there was a 2 out of 3 falls as stipulation, so I think there was a mix-up there. Hopefully they could clear that up with the next patch, or if they ever do another patch. But secondly, I think what needs to be done here on this game for 2K17 is they need to improve on the Iron Man match. And they need to improve on it by allowing us to go back to having the option of not doing 30 minutes, but doing an hour. Because believe it or not, there are people that like doing the hour-long Iron Man matches, especially if they want to use a match to culminate or climax a feud, a rivalry between two of the created characters. I'll give you an example. CCL and DCA, storyline-wise, have some great rivalries right now. So let's say they have 2 rivalries they want to get done with, right? A 30-minute Iron Man match or Iron Woman match might be suitable, but how about a 60-minute one? I think bringing back the 60-minute option could really work. And from a real fan perspective, it does, in a sense, when you do these kind of matches, just like a cage match or a Hell in a Cell match or a Buried Alive match, it settles the score. It ends the feud. So I think bringing back the 60-minute option would be great for the Iron Man match, Iron Woman match, would be greatly appreciated. Now, I know some fans might want WWE or 2K to go a little further and bring in the 90-minute option. And they could do that too if they want to, but let's be honest. I don't think a lot of us are going to want to sit there playing one match back and forth with the computer or our friends for 90 minutes to see who's going to, get the most victories. I mean, sure, some of us might because we're competitive, but you kind of get the idea. But I kind of get the idea that nobody's really going to want to do that. I mean, it's bad, and it's hard enough just to sit through, especially now with the whole live broadcasting fee and all that, thanks to the PS4 and the Xbox One, for sites like YouTube, Dailymotion, Ustream, and Twitch. It's a little hard enough to do it there, but to do it for one match, I think the 60-minute option is better. Again, though, try to improve on it from this year, because that way you don't mix it in with your 2 out of 3 falls match. Second of all, hopefully you can do that. Second of all, bring back the extreme option for the Elimination Chamber. Yeah, bring that back. I mean, true, you could add that in the creative match type, like I mentioned with creators, in addition for bringing that back for the Creation Suite. But I think giving it as an option for the Elimination Chamber would be perfect as well. So I definitely think giving us the option to do the Extreme Elimination Chamber would be perfect. And then speaking of the Elimination Chamber, of course, you got to add in the tag team option of Elimination Chamber. Add that in as well. Add it in so that we could have a tag team Elimination Chamber match as well. So I definitely think that needs to be brought back, added into the Elimination Chamber option. As well as bring that back in for some of the other matches like the Fatal 4-Way, the Triple Threat, the Hell in the Cell. Bring that tag team option back so it gives more emphasis on the tag teams that we create in the game, more meaning, if you catch my drift. Now, of course, I do agree that Buried Alive should be brought back. That should be brought back. Honestly, it should be. The Ring of Fire, the Inferno match, yes, bring that back. But of course, as we know, you can't burn somebody, because the last time they had the Ring of Fire Inferno match, it was pinfall submission. But I would say give us the option of either doing the Inferno Ring of Fire match, give us the option of pinfall submission, or give us the option of the give us the option of the like I said, give us the option of setting somebody on fire, or at least getting a part of them on fire. Give us that option. Like, okay, here's the option of the here's the option of the for the Ring of Fire Inferno match. You could either burn somebody or you pin them. Just flush the bug down the drain. Anyway, I think that's what they need to do. Bring that back with the option of pinfall submission or setting somebody on fire. Another match that they should add in, and obviously after this Monday they're going to, and I think I just mentioned it moments ago and earlier during the creation deal, the Asylum match. Bring that in. Bring the Asylum match in, because you wouldn't introduce it, because if you're going to introduce it now, I think it's the best option to bring in for a match type for the new 2K17 game. So bring in the Asylum match. I think fans will get a kick out of it. I would get a kick out of it for choosing it. And one thing about all these match types, make sure it's equal. There is equality here. In other words, make sure all the match types can be done by both the men characters and the women characters. All right? No, it's only men's only, or it's only women's only and all that. No. equality. Make sure all these matches, just like you have now, are of equality. Okay? Make sure each of these matches are of equality. Okay? Make sure of that. Make sure of that. So that's the one thing about these match types and about this game overall. Make sure all the match types are of equality. Okay? Make sure of that. Second of all, okay, so like I said, bring back the asylum. So bring in the asylum match, which again, it being introduced, it's only ironic, it's only natural that it should be added in. So add that match in. Second of all, let's go a little old school. A lot of people have been pining for a WWE 2K game to focus on WCW. So why not just in showcase mode, but basically overall, and not just with a DLC Legends pack or anything like that, but focus in on it to the point that you bring in some of the match types that were made famous by WCW or made infamous by WCW. For example, a lot of people are pining for a War Games match to become a reality in WWE this year. Not this year, but soon. But it sounds like this year might be the big, best option or the best opportunity for it to happen. So to me, if that rumor becomes a reality, if I'm 2K Sports, hold on for a sec. Sorry for that interruption. But anyway, like I said, they should bring back the War Game. They should bring in the War Games match because a lot of people are pining for it. Like I said earlier, like I was saying before I had to answer the phone there, a lot of fans are pining for a War Games match to take place in WWE in some shape or form. So I think if you want to kind of, meet the demand by the fans of, hey, bring us a WCW showcase of some kind that would include some match types, then bring in the War Games match as part of your match options for fans to choose. Now, you could also be creative with this by giving them the option with the War Games by doing 1 ring or 2 rings. The old, basically going the 2-ring route or the 1-ring route, I think would work perfectly for a War Games match option in this game. So I definitely would suggest bringing in the War Games match for a match option 2K17, as well as bring in, are you ready for this, the Ready to Rumble cage. I know you're thinking, oh my God, are you kidding me? No, hear me out. The Ready to Rumble cage, I think, would be a perfect throwback to one of the most infamous matches they've done. But bring in the Ready to Rumble cage. I guarantee you fans will get a kick out of it because the option would be you got to climb up to the top of the cage and get the belt. So I think that would be great. So definitely bring the Ready to Rumble cage in as a match option, as well as another match option from WCW, the Thunder Cage, the Thunderdome, if you will. Now you might say, well, what the heck is a Thunder Cage or a Thunderdome? The Thunder Cage Thunderdome match is kind of like Hell in a Cell, except it has an open roof. It has an open roof, if you will. There's no ceiling. It's an open roof, but it's a big old cage that surrounds the entire ringside area. The Thunder Cage, and that to me would be a great match for them to add in, because not only would you have the option of Hell in a Cell with the roof and everything, but now you would have the Thunder Cage option, the Thunderdome match option to throw in there as well. So I definitely think bring that match in as well. So the Thunder Cage match I would love to see brought in, as well as bring back the Championship Scramble. Bring that back. To me, that was always a fun match to do. True, sometimes the match wouldn't fall in my favor, but I think bringing that back would be perfect. So bring back the Championship Scramble match. That would be a nice option to have, if you will. As well as improve on certain matches like the Falls Count Anywhere match. Improve on that by allowing us to go backstage and have Falls Count back there as well as maybe even go as far as allowing the characters to go outside the building to an outside environment, like a parking lot or whatever, and allow them to finish the match there or continue the match there. So expand on Falls Count Anywhere, as well as bring in matches like the stretcher match. Bring the stretcher match in, bring it back if you've had it already. I think that would be a great match to have. It'd be challenging in a sense. So I think that'd be nice to have right there. As well as, if you want to, and I don't think they will, but every game is rated T. It's always said, oh, it's going to have blood, suggested themes, and all that. Here's what you do with that rating. You take advantage of it. You bring in the barbed wire matches. Bring those back. Bring back the barbed wire match so that it could be an option. And again, if you want to make it equality-like, and I think fans would be happy to see that. Because you don't have to say, oh, it's because WWE's doing it. No, you could do it as a homage, as a tribute to ECW. So I think that'd be a nice thing to have, to bring the barbed wire match back in. And one other match I think they should do, and even though it might be an option to do it, but I think if you want to, again, really please those WCW fans, these are 2 cage matches I think they should bring back in. One being Infamous, if you will. That one that's infamous, I would say, is the Doomsday Cage match from Uncensored 95. Bring that in. And then, after that, the other match type, well, I have another one. The ambulance match, yeah, you should bring that in. But the other match, I think they should do, I'm trying to think about it. I know it's at the tip of my tongue right now. I think the other match they should do, because like I said, if you want to pay tribute, pay homage to WCW, especially this year being the 20th anniversary of the NWO forming, I think the next match, the one other match option I think they should bring in to really expand on it. I talked about the War Games. How about you bring in the World War III Battle Royal match? Yeah. Bring in the World War III Battle Royal match. Bring that match in. Do the 3 rings, if you will. Bring that match in, as well as maybe even bring in the Battle Bowl match. Yeah, do the Battle Bowl. Bring the Battle Bowl match in. Make it part of one of the tournament options. The Battle Bowl, Lethal Lottery tournament. Bring that in, and that's how you get the Battle Bowl match. And then I think as a tribute to Dusty Rhodes, I would bring in the Bunkhouse Stampede. I'd bring back the Bunkhouse Stampede match. And some old school fans may not know what that is. I would say check out I'd say check out WWE Network. Go to the classic. Go to WWE Network. Go to WCW's pay-per-views, and you should see one of the first pay-per-views they have to offer is the Bunkhouse Stampede. So I would definitely go with the Bunkhouse Stampede as a tribute to Dusty Rhodes. Now, as far as tournaments go, I just talked about the Lethal Lottery tournament, which could allow you to have access, and which could be the only way you can have access to the Battle Bowl, Battle Royal. So I would suggest that. Bring the Lethal Lottery tournament in. Definitely integrate the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Integrate that, which would be great. Keep the other ones there, like King of the Ring, the Gold Rush tournament, and all that. But like I said, add in the Lethal Lottery one, which like I said, is the only way you could do the Battle Bowl, Battle Royal. Integrate the Dusty Rhodes Classic tournament into it, as well as speaking of the tournaments, try to integrate it to where it's more realistic, more real-time like with what you see on Raw and SmackDown. Instead of the tournament being like, oh, that's just one, like when you're doing a card for your WWE Universe, for your Universe mode, for your CAW promotion, make sure the tournament can be integrated throughout the week. Don't just have it limited to just one match and you have to go from there. Make sure it gets integrated so that it can continue on throughout the week. Like, give it a go. Like, in other words, for example, if you, for example, with me, if I'm doing my DCWA Raw, and I want to add, and I want to start the tournament there, I want to make sure it gets added to. It doesn't just continue with Raw, but it goes on and continues on to Thunder, and goes back to Raw, back to Thunder, and then culminates at the CPV, my pay-per-view event, or something like that. Same with like CCL. You know, let's say you have a tournament begin on Pulse, have it continue on Adrenaline, go back to Pulse to Adrenaline, back to Pulse, back to Adrenaline, and then have it culminate at one of those CPVs. To me, that would be great. That should be an option they should add in, or that should be, an improvement on the tournament format that they have in the games, integrated so it's more like a real tournament. It's not just a one-night deal. It continues on throughout the next few shows that you do until you culminate it maybe at your event or whenever you want to culminate it. So I think the tournament mode should be improved on to add that to make it more, like I say, more in real time, more authentic in a sense. Now, one last thing, because I know this is going on an hour and I do apologize. One last thing I think should be done is adding more championships. It's sort of homage to a lot of other championships. I mean, we do know that they've got all the WWE titles past and present. A majority of them anyway. We do know they got most of ECW's titles past and present, and a majority of the WCW titles past and present. But they don't have them all yet. There are some titles that are missing. For example, I know that they have the ECW World Television title, but I don't see the WCW World Television title, so I think that's a championship that they should add into this, is that you can unlock by playing the game, or just unlock in general. They should bring in the NWA, WCW US Tag Team titles, as well as, and you can make this an option for created champions as well, because you got teams like the New Day, bring in the six-man tag team titles. Thus, you can allow that to be integrated into your created championships, so that way you could choose whether it's an individual title, a tag title, or a trio title, or a six-man title, if you catch my drift. So you could by adding the WCW, the NWA, WCW six-man titles as part of your established championships of the past and present, you can allow that to be integrated into your created championships on the creation suite, and then you could expand more with that. So this way you can have not just regular tag champs and individual champs, you can have six-man or six ladies or six women tag team champions, if you catch my drift. So the six-man tag team title should be brought in. I think the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship should be brought in, as well as the Western States Heritage Championship as well. ECW, I know most of their titles are already in there. The AWA, I think, may have that title in there. If not, bring the AWA title in there. I mean, you got the license to all these shows on the network, all these promotions. You got all these libraries of all these different promotions. So I think you should take advantage of that by integrating their championships into the other title, by adding their championships into the game as well, as sort of an homage, a tribute to those promotions, those territories. For example, WWE has access to the GWF and the USWA. Why not bring in the USWA, the Unified title, if you will? Bring that in. Bring in the Southern Tag Team titles. Bring in the GWF, North American title, or Global Championship, whatever you want to call it. You got the You got the Smoky Mountain library, but I don't add in the Smoky Mountain titles. You kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about, right? Just add these championships in as a bit of a tribute to those promotions, oceans, and territories that help pave the way for what wrestling is today. So I think a lot of those that I've mentioned and some others should be added in. But overall, that's just what I believe WWE 2K should be added and improved on for WWE 2K17. Let me know what you guys think down below, and do take your time. Hopefully it'll be in the description box. Hopefully you've taken this time listening to this, and I do apologize for it being over an hour. But that's basically how I feel. What needs to be improved on for 2K17 and what needs to be added in for 2K17. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. Again, as said in the description box, take your time with this. I do apologize for it being over an hour. And that's all I'm going to say. So God bless you guys. Take care. And I am out. But again, this is what I feel needs to be improved on and added in for 2K17.